Alright everyone, it seems like a propaganda-heavy week, but, that's basically every week for the last 4 years, so I'm not surprised. The legacy media right now, link in the description, archived of course, always use archive.today when sending news tips to creators. Use an archive so that they don't get the extra clicks. It's like creators, you should start using archive links. They might retroactively edit or delete their stories anyway. This site will preserve them so that you can actually say, told you so. Anyway, the legacy media right now is trying to tie in the Dominion voting systems scandal with Qanon, because Qanon is sort of like a tarnished thing. Now, I've made my point clear on Qanon. It's a LARP. The idea that there are some deep state rogue operatives that are leaking sensitive information to the people behind the scenes, trust the plan, trying to start sort of a cyber revolution against tyranny or something, I think that's wishful thinking. I think it's a little bit of a cult. I think that it can be interesting, it can be entertaining, but really, if you know anything about the occult, if you've studied fortune telling and divination specifically, some of it is guesswork. Some of it is deliberate vagary. This is what Nostradamus did with his quatrains. They're meant to be basically able to be interpreted in a million different ways at any given point in time, so they seem prophetic. This is the Qanon LARP. You spit out some schizoid garbage, some word salad on 4chan, other people come along and they interpret it as they want, because if you have hundreds or thousands of people digging through all current available news, you will find elements of that prediction, so-called, that overlap with something real. And you can give it whatever meaning you want. People are looking for meaning. That's the whole point. It's almost like I'm almost thinking it might be a psychological experiment of sorts. That being said, the idea that the election fraud allegations that we're seeing, and it's not voter fraud, it's election fraud, the former is relatively uncommon. The latter beckons the idea of organization on a level beyond a person or two, at least a local organization to try to flip things. When we look at the situation with Dominion voting systems, with the errors that we've seen with them, with the clerical errors that we've seen in numerous states, especially the big one, Michigan, with 6,000 votes. That was one hell of a clerical error. How many clerical individuals were responsible for causing that? Again, it appears to be organized at that point. We've had problems with the machines in other cases anyway, just mechanical failure. We had tales of Sharpies being given out that didn't work in Arizona. Now, this doesn't appear to have happened elsewhere, but it happened in a couple locations. It could have literally been a bad batch of Sharpies, but that's something you might want to check beforehand. Doesn't anyone calibrate these machines the night before and make sure they're working properly? That's what I would like to know. We've had, certainly in Detroit, we've got the biggest shenanigans, I think, in the whole country. We have an outstanding recount in Georgia, including 2 Senate recounts, potentially, 2 runoffs, rather. We have outstanding litigation in Pennsylvania that will go before SCOTUS. The election is all sorts of screwy. Even if you don't believe in any form of fraud, at the very least, the errors and glitches alone and the outstanding litigation with regards to extending the election for mail-in votes, even that is a quagmire that could flip the election. In that sense, I think that there's a very real possibility of shenanigans going on, and you do not have to believe in the Qanon LARP to believe that. The thing is that the legacy media has already spent a long time convincing Ma and Pa America that the Qanon thing is extremism, it's disinfo from foreign states, it's Nazis, it's sort of a hodgepodge of everything middle America would fear. Like they used to be afraid little Jimmy listens to Iron Maiden, he starts worshiping the devil, cuts the dog's head off. They worried that little Jimmy would start using heroin because they found pot under his bed. There have been these panics before. This is just a moral panic being whipped up by the legacy media that in a few years they will probably have completely let go of. Just so everyone is aware, it'll magically disappear when it's no longer convenient for them to use it as a bugbear, as a boogeyman. There is no tie-in between these two. Qanon LARPers were not the progenitors of the idea that the election was faulty. No, normal, everyday analytics and statistics would show you that there was something fucked going on. And we know that it was. Again, you can blame clerical error if you want. Say, well, it's not fraud or rigging or anything. It's just someone made a mistake. Okay. 6,000 votes in one single county in Michigan. I would think that that's significant. When I look at this situation, I just say it like this. I say that virtually all of the states had mail-in ballots. Why is it that only those that couldn't count them in a timely manner are the ones that flipped to Biden? Always narrowly, by the way, by very mysterious margins that statistically shouldn't exist. Why are those ones 4 or 5 points off from the national average? I wonder fucking why this could be the case. Could it be that when they were counting votes and explicitly keeping the poll watchers out from the Republican Party, or having them stand back 20 feet so they can't see anything anyway, and then putting up like shields on the windows of the counting places, could it be that there was something going on there that was potentially dubious or even illegal? I think that that's a legitimate question to ask. You don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to ask it. By the way, when the legacy media or Silicon Valley tech reps and so forth say, well, we need to ban this QAnon stuff, I don't believe so. It's a harmless LARP. All of the violence supposedly that's the responsibility, like last night on Twitter, this was a funny moment. This shows cognitive dissonance. There was somebody that was arguing in a Twitter thread there, I think under one of Joe Biden's posts, and they're like, well, we're sorry that we don't have footage of all of the right-wing violence that's occurred like you do of the left-wing violence, but it's still more prevalent. I'm thinking to myself, video doesn't lie. We have a million hours of film of Antifa and BLM burning buildings to the ground, assaulting people, in some cases outright killing them, doing crazy shit, attacking federal courthouses, literally deploying IEDs. You don't have anything comparable from all of these so-called extreme and hugely violent right-wing groups. Right-wing, like the QAnon thing is really politically partisan at this point. Now, the idea of voter fraud, I think, transcends that. I've spoken to people who are leftists. And I mean actual leftists. I don't mean sellout skeptics. I don't mean somebody who voted for Biden and held their nose. I mean people that are genuinely on the left. They think that the election was fucked up too. They just don't say as much about it because of two things. The legacy media and the Democratic establishment openly threatening people at this point if they question it, number one. And number two, they're okay with the result. They're okay with the idea of a shoddy election so long as Orange Man's gone because they fear him. Again, because of legacy media propaganda trying to convince them that he's Hitler. He's a pretty weak stand-in for Mussolini, dude, considering the fact that he was stymied by his own Republican Party for the first 2 years of his presidency, until he finally had the Senate enough on his side to get his wall funded. Name a fascist thing that he's actually done, because I'm scratching my head, I'm racking my brain, and I can't think of anything. Supposedly he's big in with the QAnon people, the Proud Boys, very far right, Nazis, he loves the tiki torch carriers and stuff. None of this is real. It's sad because the reality that's seen by a significant plurality of Americans is not actually real. And it's really a mind exercise. It's interesting from the outside looking in, because when you're analyzing politics, you have to put aside your bias. You have to put up a wall against what you're told, and you have to sort of dig through it more deeply. You can't do the surface thinking thing where you just read the headline in the first sentence, because then you don't really get the story. You have to dig much more deeply, and it can be exhausting. When you witness, once you've woken up or been red-pilled, or whatever term you want to use, for the idea of sort of getting it, once you've gotten to that point, it becomes exhausting and it becomes very sad because you're looking at other people and you're realizing, shit, everyone is constantly screwed up by propaganda from corporations and the government on a constant basis. Virtually everything that they think they know within human systems is a goddamn lie. Virtually everything that they take as sacrosanct is bullshit. Virtually everything that they believe is true is actually false. Now, maybe not within more objective systems, like 1 + 1 = 2, but if you apply a human system to that, 1 + 1 can equal 3, and then you can punish people for believing otherwise. That's the nature of propaganda. That's about all. Peace out.